Are we on?
Oh, there you go.
I gave you
Hello,
the flag, so we're
everyone.
on. Yeah, we're on.
Hello, everyone, to the Hero Football Talk on a special Monday Eastern edition. We were happy if you can put in the comments down there what you did. Eastern is a special year. Eastern, everyone is at home, nobody with family. Maybe link us in some pictures, whatever you did over Easter. Me and Coach Mele, for us, was also special. Coach Mele wanted to see his friends back from the day in Germany. I wanna go home to Dresden to my family, and yeah, we are not allowed to do that. So we make a little barbecue with our players there here in our import house on Saturday, and make the best out of this crazy situation we have right now. Yeah, Coach Mele, how was your Eastern without family?
So I'm gonna be honest. It actually wasn't that bad because even though we had this lockdown and we had this barbecue, it felt like the same every Easter. The only difference is actually, what was it? I don't even know. It was actually the same. I think we probably broke some laws, but since nobody caught us, we didn't have to pay a fine. Because out here in Germany, they're implementing now fines and stuff like that. But it was a good Easter, and now we have the pleasure this Monday, straight out of the streets from Warsaw, literally sitting in his car because he's terrified of getting arrested. Apparently, is actually one of my good friends. And it's funny because this morning and yesterday I was getting some messages from some fans of yours back in Poland saying he is the best strength and conditioning coach in Poland, and it is my buddy Michał Surdej. How's it going on, man? And how's that situation with the car?
Once again?
How's your situation with the car right now, sitting in there in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, it's warm and it's not raining inside, so it's good.
Is it raining outside?
Yeah, a little bit. It started.
How's this whole Corona situation with you guys right now?
I think it's similar to other countries in Europe. We're in the lockdown, which means that you cannot go outside except going for groceries and the pharmacies and stuff like that. We're limited to meetings over 2 people, which means I can meet with you, but your friend has to go. And other than that, it's crazy, man. Everything is closed, and you have no idea how long it's gonna last. And our government is using Corona to repress our people and change the policies a little bit. So it's a little bit unfair because you cannot meet with your family, but they're doing the government meetings, and they're traveling around Poland and stuff like that, which pisses people off a little bit. But can't do anything.
We haven't heard anything out here in Germany about that, they're trying to change laws, but we could see something to be honest.
You're smarter than us. So.
What was that?
You're smarter than us. So.
You're smarter than us. That was one thing you look at, where you look at some of the things being implemented. Like for us here right now, same thing as you guys. Also, the 2-person rule, unless it's family. They say to limit it, but if it's family, you can't say hey to your kid, hey, you gotta get the fuck out of here. It's not gonna work. But
I got it. But for example, a couple days ago, on April 10th, and today we had 3 days ago. Yeah, so basically 10 years ago there was a plane crash in Russia with half of our government. It was a big deal in Poland, and a lot of politics died in that crash, which was caused by not respecting the procedures and some rules. So 3 days ago we had the 10-year anniversary of that crash, and they telling people not to go to the streets, and 2-person rule and stuff like that. And suddenly they're organizing a meeting on the big square to celebrate the anniversary. So a lot of people are laughing 10 years ago you were not respecting the procedures, and that created a crash. And 10 years after, you haven't learned anything because you're still not respecting procedures.
That's crazy.
You're not wearing masks, you're not wearing gloves, you're not respecting the lockdown rule and stuff like that. So people are sitting at home and they're just going wild.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I was going to ask you, since you're a strength and conditioning coach and you have also private clients and so forth. Like,
Yeah.
how is that for you right now? Because, for example, for us here, at least for what I've been seeing, a lot of friends of mine too, they're doing a lot of like online coaching. So they're having like digital training sessions, because for right now in Germany, for example, I don't know what it is in Poland, but you're allowed to go outside and work out, but only one person on your own.
Yeah, I think it's the same here. However, they can give you a fine for riding a bike, so nobody knows what's going on.
Well, what
Like,
do you do? Are you still in contact with your clients? Are you training them right now, or how's that going?
yeah, most of my clients have some kind of a programming that I gave them away, and it changes every week because they're changing the rules. Some of my athletes were like sprinting twice per week,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're not allowed to do that. So we have to change some things in the programming constantly. But I'm not doing video calls with them, and I'm not sitting in front of the computer watching them doing squats in the living room. I can do that, but most of them were taught how to do certain exercises, because I'm a huge fan of like giving my knowledge away to my athletes, like not correcting them all the time, but actually asking them how would you do that exercise, how would you do this and this and this and exercise. So I'm preparing them for independent training in the future, because I'm aware that I'm not going to be with them, or they're not going to train with me all the time. So instead of like, let's use squat as an example, instead of like giving them cues like bring your heels closer, bring your heels wider, point your toes a little bit more outside, more inside, I'll give them the cues and ask them during the squat, like, what's your heel width in the squat? And they're like, I told you, stand a little bit wider than your hips. Like point your toes to 1 and 11. And once they remember that, if they're at home, they don't need me there, because they already know that they have to stand a little bit wider than their hips and point their toes on 1 and 11. And they have a good setup for the squat. I give them couple like key points in each exercises to focus on, and I believe that they can work out on their own.
No, I love that,
Right
because
now.
I mean, we've been talking about this too, where it's like that also goes in the strength conditioning training. We also talk about it also from the aspect of when it comes down to let's say our installs, our schemes that we're running, right?
Yeah.
And like I always say, I want my players to know exactly what our strategy is, why we are doing this.
Yeah.
I don't want robots out there just running it. I want guys to understand the intricacies. So it goes hand in hand with strength conditioning and also the whole tactic aspect of it. So I love how you're saying that, where it's like you want to prepare them so when they're in that situation, they don't need you for every little baby step.
Yeah, for example, if you have an athlete who's, let's use a tennis as an example, who's a tennis player and he's traveling a lot for the competition, he has to maintain some workout regime, some strength training regime while he's traveling. So you're not going to be calling him when he's in Australia. It might be a middle of the night for you. So you have to prepare him to do the basics on his own. For sure, it doesn't mean that I'm useless in a training regime, in a training routine. I can still give him some cues, and I can change the programming. I'm there to motivate them as well. But to some level, I want my athletes to be independent. And I think it's a matter of principles and why you're doing the thing that you're doing. Why are you becoming a strength and conditioning coach? A lot of people are doing this purely for business purposes, and for them, they don't want to give those advices because they want to keep the client as long as they can with them.
Would you say this is more of a European thing, like in general, or is this just overall where you see kind of this aspect where coaches say, you know what, they don't want to share their knowledge? Because this is the same thing. Also, we talked about this with one of my best friends, one of the top coaches, also in Europe, and he's coached in the States and in Japan, where he said like there's coaches out there that they don't want to share their stuff because they're worried like, oh, people are going to find out, or you know what I mean? They're
But do you mean that they don't want to share it with other coaches or with their athletes? Because I think these are like two different things.
More with other coaches, for example.
Oh, I don't think it's like European thing, or it's not typical for any nation. I think it's like person dependent, if you know what I mean. To be honest, it's aware. To some point, you can share your knowledge with other coaches, but you at the same time you have to remember that this is some kind of your competition. So once you put the work into getting that knowledge, I see no reason to give it away for free to everyone else. That's why a lot of people are creating courses, they're writing books. They want to share the knowledge, but you have to pay for the time that they spend getting that knowledge.
Right.
And I mean that I think that's fine. Like giving everything away for free, it's not a good thing.
And then what about now when you talk about athletes? Because there's some coaches that they just don't tell their players. Like and it has to do also with strength conditioning, but also even just in general, just sports.
Yeah, for athletes, I think it depends on the athlete type and what's their like mental characteristic, like their archetype of an athlete. Some of them are real like technicians, and they really want to know the technical aspect and the reasons why they're doing certain things. And there are some other athletes, they do not care, and you're gonna waste your time explaining them why they're doing that exercise. They don't care. You just tell them what to do, and they're gonna do it. So these are two different type of athletes, and I think at the beginning, as a strength and conditioning coach, it's good to understand what types of athletes we have and how to communicate with them, so you can save your energy and time.
Would you say this also ties back, because also your way of thinking, because I mean, in my opinion, especially the way that I learn, and I think it's also been my mindset in terms of, like you said, sharing to a certain point, also with certain athletes, because you do get the type where you're like, there's no point for me to teach you this because you're not going to remember, you're not going to grasp it, for example, like you said, different archetypes. Would you say this also goes back to your history as being a judo athlete, your mentality, and then going in? Because I also want to know for you to share with us also how it came to be you coming from judo, going into now, I believe, was it physical therapy first or was it strength and conditioning first?
I think it was both at the same time. I mean, in Poland back then when I was studying, we didn't have strength and conditioning faculty at the university.
Okay.
And I believe that we still don't have one. So it was kind of a natural thing. I was really connected to the sport, and I couldn't see myself in a desk like office environment. So a natural way. I mean, I was in a mathematical, physical, and informatic class in the high school, which it's pretty weird. But from that, I went into the university to Akademia Wychowania Fizycznego, which is Academy of Physical Education in Warsaw. And back then they had 3 faculties. They had like a touristic and recreation. The second one was physical education. And the third one was physical therapy. And the physical therapy seemed like the most ambitious one. So I decided to go there and do this. But when I was at the 3rd year of my 5-year program, I went for internship. Yeah, I went for an internship to Center of Sports Physical Therapy. And I already knew that standing next to the physical bed, and giving the manual therapy is not the thing I can do. One of the reasons was it was too boring for me at the beginning. And the second reason was my thumbs, because as a former judo player, I had all my fingers dislocated many times. So after giving a long manual therapy sessions, my thumbs just hurt so much that I started to use my elbows and things like that. Yeah. But that was not the level of intensity and work that I was looking for.
Would you say that was, you know what I mean? Right. Would you say that's something then that, because this is the thing, right? And I came across you, was it 2018? It was in May, actually my birthday. I was in Warsaw, and
the Franz Bosch.
Yeah. So was that the convention they had? I forgot what the name was. It was the one that the Legia Warsaw was having. And I remember seeing you, and the first thing that you were the guy, and for the most part, you do this and we talk about this all the time, at every single clinic or convention, when the speaker asks, like, you're one of the guys that says, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna stand up there and I'm gonna be the dummy because everyone's basically scared to stand up there. What I want to get at is, because this is a thing, and you're one of the few guys that I know that will go out there because, and your resume speaks for itself, like you've been essentially everywhere just trying to learn, because from what you're saying is in Poland, there isn't like a true strength and conditioning faculty. So you look at and saying, you know what, I need to have a certain curriculum under my belt to be able to now give back to my athletes. Like, what made you to go out there and go learn from the best? Because from what I come across, especially people in our business, not a lot of people do that. You know what I mean? They're not really willing to invest and go out there and spend their hard-earned money to now do what? To go learn, because they think, oh, it's a fucking waste.
Yeah, they're counting some monies, and I think the basic calculation is that, okay, if I'm gonna spend $2,000 for a course, does it mean that I can increase my one-on-one training rate from, I don't know, $100 to $150 right now? And that's the flawed thinking. I think that you owe that to your athletes because they're believing you with their money, their time, and what's most important, with their health. They're giving you away their health because they believe that you're gonna do the good thing. And I believe that it's very important for us to develop ourselves to the best level that we can, so we can provide our athletes with the best quality of the training. I think it's a principle. I believe that, and that's why I went for all the courses. And the first course I did, like the big one, was Axos, and it changed a lot in my thinking. I invested a lot of money back then.
It's expensive. That shit's a lot.
Yes, and imagine that back then when I did it, it was like 2012, I think. I was at the end of my university. I was working in the Center of Physical Therapy with patients, and they were paying me back then 23 zlotys for an hour, which is like 4 euros, 5 euros, for an hour of working with a patient who just might underwent a spine surgery. The clinic was collecting 150, which is like, I don't know, 40 euros. And they were giving me 23 zlotys, which was like typical thing back then. And imagine that me earning 23 zlotys per hour, I spent $2,000 for a course. I was very lucky because after I did judo, I started to do a little bit of snowboarding as a passion and some parkour stuff as a passion as well, some amateur gymnastics thing. And I got connected with a friend of mine who was working as a stuntman. And I did couple gigs like that. I was working as a stuntman, and they gave me a call one day to participate in a casting for a commercial. And I just went there. It was like 20 people in line because it was like a specialized casting, like hundreds of people waiting for the general role in the advertisement, and I was called to be a part of like a specific role, like a ninja thing. So they had a closed group of people who they were calling, and they called me. I went there. I just talked to the director, and we had a good time, like talking and joking around. A couple days later, they just called me, and they hired me for the gig. And it was a big commercial for Sony for the tablet. And I just realized that it's for the main Sony, and the advertisement went worldwide. I was in the commercial for like a second and a half, and they paid me like 5,000 euros for that.
Okay.
And I spent all those money into Exos courses. I did module 1 and module 2. So I was left like with a couple hundreds.
Okay. Nice.
But that was the real beginning, I believe.
where did it go on from there? Because what was your first then official job after you finished your studies in terms of strength and conditioning? Because then you went straight into team sports, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was working in a physical therapy center, but not as a physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
But I was working as a physical preparation coach. So they had like 2 levels in the clinic. We were laughing that they pushed us down to the basement. All the physical therapies were at the ground floor with with windows and fresh air, and strength coaches they were pushed down into the basement.
Okay.
And some of the clients, when they were done with physical therapy and they still wanted to continue the process, they were sent down to us, and we were doing some strength training with them and physical preparation. And we had some really good athletes there. I started to work with volleyball players, with hammer throwers, a lot of like track and field athletes over there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like a really beginning. And then I went to train on my own. I was working for 5 years as a CrossFit coach because I mean, I really enjoyed CrossFit training, especially for myself. And I was working with some general population doing CrossFit classes. And on the side, I had some individual athletes. And like 2 years ago, I stopped doing the group training sessions. I stopped doing CrossFit classes and focused more on one-on-one training sessions with pro athletes, amateur athletes, and some private clients.
Okay. How was it you came to be? Because you've worked with, was it the Polish Golf Association? Of course, like you said, you've worked with various sports. Like also, like I think you still have a kid or one of the players from the Warsaw Mets, Alex Povar. How do you say his name?
Alex Povar. Yeah, he's a good guy.
But you got him. You also got a couple MMA judo athletes. You got, from what I know, one of the top MMA guys in Poland. Was it Damian Janikowski?
Yeah, Damian Janikowski. Yeah. We used to work for like three fight camps. We do not work anymore together, but it was a good time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I started to work with golf athletes like a couple years ago. We had a really good junior player who was struggling with some injuries and who was living in Warsaw. Bartek Bibrowicz was working with some golf athletes in Wrocław. And he was working back then with a national team a little bit as well. And that guy, Alejandro Pedritz, who was a junior golfer, was living in Warsaw, and he really needed some strength training, but Bartek was too far away from him. So they called me, and I started to work with him, and he ended up like being our best junior athlete in the country. So we worked together for like 3 or 4 years. I can't remember right now. And now he left to the US, and he's playing for Texas University, I think. Okay. He's on the tuition over there.
How was your time? Because I mean, we talked about this extensively. So since like the day that I met you and became, I mean, I'd say we were decent friends for the most part.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later. I know you're also with the
I
leg
knew
down.
it's coming.
What was that?
I knew it's coming.
Talk about that later. Because I know you've had your experience with Legia Warszawa and the basketball team, for example, like time back to previously we talked about when we kind of first came across our paths. How was your time there? Because I know you've talked to me specifically about it, your time there, how it was basically being in that team sport club environment, especially in Poland, where that also leads to other topics as well, because I've been involved in sports, team sports in Poland, and kind of you're talking about, like, first of all, I mean, we already know this, like the pay there is not the best, but also just more talking about the environment, you coming into that scenario and how it was. Okay.
Payment sucks. Yeah. If we want to talk the real thing, the payment sucks over there.
Right.
To the point that when I was doing the translations for Saturday and Sunday of translating the course, I was earning more money than for the whole month in working with the team.
Okay. And how is the transition from coaching one athlete to now you coach a whole team? Because not everyone's on the same level on a team.
Sure.
How is this set up there for you as a coach?
Yeah, so working with a team, was challenging at the beginning. It was fun, definitely. So there are a couple things that you don't have to care about when you're training one-on-one athlete or a client that are appearing in a team setting, and one of them is a logistic. When you're training one athlete, you don't care about equipment because usually there is at least one piece of equipment that you can work on. And when I was training with the team, we were struggling when it comes to logistics. We had some issues at the gym. We didn't have a proper weight room for athletes. So at the beginning, I was buying some of the equipment for athletes to work with, and
At,
I
at,
even
at
I
Legia,
even
right? At Legia?
yeah, Legia. So I even welded a trap bar at the beginning because I couldn't buy one. So I downloaded the scheme of a trap bar from one of the websites on the internet, and I asked a friend of mine to weld it for me. So it was like 23.5 kilos, but it was working, and they were happy that I brought some new equipment to their gym. And I can send you a video later from that time when we were working in that gym. So half of equipment they didn't have an attest to work on. Officially, the gym was closed, so we couldn't use the equipment. There was like the walls were, I don't know how to call it, crumbling. Like the walls were, the walls were destroyed. The floor was uneven. But we did some good work. We played loud music. We had fun at the gym, and I understood that for some of those athletes back then, I had the oldest team in the league. Some of the players were like almost 40 years old.
Okay.
For most of their career, they didn't have a chance to work with a strength coach, and they didn't do a lot of strength and conditioning work, if any. So imagine that you have like a very advanced athlete who was playing basketball longer than I was living, and now I'm coming to the club and I'm telling them what to do. So I quickly noticed that for some of those athletes, I'm not looking for improvement in the gym. I'm looking for something else. I was trying to give them a good time outside of the basketball court, which they were like done with it because they were at the basketball court for most of their lives. So they wanted to have some fun. We and that was a time when we were building a team spirit in the gym. So players were supporting each other. We were having fun. We were playing good music, and they were relaxing after the basketball session. And at some point, if your athlete is jumping like 1 inch higher or 2 inches higher, it doesn't matter. It matters if they're creating a team together on the court, and that mattered. And we won the division, so it was a good success, like the biggest success for the club for last 15 years, I think.
So this was first league, right?
Yeah, it was first league, which is not the top league. It's like one below.
The one underneath, right?
Yeah, so they hired me because they had some issues with injuries. I mean, out of 15 players, when I came to the club, only 6 were able to train, not to play, to train. Some of them had like torn ACLs, fractured patellas, and spine issues and stuff like that. So I was there, maybe what's called like a counterbalance for the head coach. So we were doing some quality work at the gym instead of pointless running back and forth on the court.
Well, is there any overall advice you can give for a young conditioning coach, strength and conditioning coach who comes in a situation like that? Because a lot of young athletes want to do this as well, be a strength and conditioning coach, and come in the situation like you say, I coming in and everyone can be my dad. How I get respect, is there any overall advice you can give out to the young coaches out there?
Yeah, sure. I think first of that is be adaptable, which means that you have to be ready for every situation, for training on Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, for changing your training session quickly, from changing the time of the training session quickly, and adapt to the needs that you will face while working with the team. And yeah, I think that's the most important. I had the second one like 10 seconds ago, but I forgot about that. Maybe, maybe, yeah. So being adaptable is a very important thing.
I mean, and the biggest one I look at, you already talked about, and that was a big one you said. It's like, and this is now bringing.
Yeah, I got the second one.
What is it?
Yeah, it's like know the principles, not the methods, and I think it's really important one. And you can see who knows the principle of training instead of famous methods right now with the Corona stuff. Because what you can see is a lot of people are posting videos online with home training sessions, and suddenly they posting like workout of the day type of thing when they advise athletes to do, I don't know, 10 minutes of squats and push-ups. I mean, if your athletes really need that kind of a training session, why wouldn't you do that back when you had the barbell stuff? Like your athlete, for some of your athletes need maximal strength training sessions. Like Alex, for example, my football guy, he needs strength and power. He's not an endurance guy. Mm-hmm. So why should I give him an endurance type of a training sessions? And now when you're aware of a principle, your method of barbell training is gone. Now you have to figure out something else. So what can I do in a home environment with that athlete to maintain his maximal strength levels and his power strength and his power levels? So that's the thing that young coaches need to learn, that instead of following some methods from internet, they have to be aware of a principle behind that. So just to give you a hint, Alex is doing like yielding and overcoming isometrics at home, in contrast with plyometric training. If he can, he's doing sprints. At least once per week.
I was about to say that because it's funny because you bring that up. I was going to say, like, your last post on your Instagram, you talk about isometric training and that people should be doing that right now at home, and it's not that hard to do because actually one of my receivers was in here 2-3 days ago, and he's having knee pain and they can't figure out why, first of all. And I'm like, this is interesting. And he's like, yeah, but I need weights. And I'm like, nah, I don't think you fucking do. But it's tying into what you're saying, where it's like people are posting these home workouts of the day or of the week or this type of shit. And you just said it, right?
Yeah.
Principles. As a football player, you are never fucking running a 3K, a 5K. So what the fuck are we doing? You know, I don't know, 200 fucking reps of push-ups a day to like, there's guys doing this even on our team, for example. I'm like really honest, because I'm not the strength coach. And they're doing like 500 push-ups a day or that. And it's like, this isn't going to help you. Like, at some point we do need some sort of resistance training, but right now is a perfect time to do what? Step away from that and continue to work on what? Your foundation. Because like if you can fucking squat, right? If you can do some sort of split squats, like you said, if you could do sprints, that's a big thing. Can you do some sort of vertical jumps, broad jumps? I mean, you're going to be fine at the end of the day, especially core work. Everybody's freaking out saying, oh, I need weights, especially in this time. Like, no, you fucking don't.
Yeah, maybe it's a time as well for some athletes to recover from previous injuries, to improve mobility in key areas. It's time to work on some weaknesses, because you cannot do the thing that you like to do before. You're forced to do different things. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the workout of the day type of training, it's a good thing for general population. Right. I would recommend like doing a lot of different things, but if you're a professional athlete, you should be focusing on improving your performance instead of like sweating your ass off on the couch. And improving performance doesn't mean that you have to do strength training like with a barbell. Sometimes it means that you like improving, I don't know, Achilles stiffness, because I'm pretty sure that we're gonna have a ramp up in injuries after Corona time is over, because people do not realize that they're not on the same level as they were before the Corona started, and they'll try to jump on that level quickly. All the games will start, and some of them will have low volume of work on for example, Achilles. I
Yeah.
think one of the coaches, I cannot remember who posted that in 2008 they had a lockdown as well, and there was a big rump in Achilles injuries after that lockdown finished, because those tendons, they just lost the stiffness after all the time. So those athletes, they have to be ready to be at least at the same level once everything is on again.
And that's the biggest concern right now, because, for example, what the state is saying is, we just talked about, right? Next week, the 20th, is that what they're saying?
the 20th.
They're saying the 20th, they're supposed to come, like, the official decision, what's about to happen now, especially with sports.
Yep.
Like, can we start in small groups? Big groups, first of all, it's not going to happen off the bat, because there's no way they're going to go from a fucking lockdown where you can't practice to full on. But like you're kind of saying right now, there is going to be an issue. First of all, and the big thing we've been kind of talking about is, like, what are these guys doing already?
Yeah.
If you're not doing anything already, and then the second they start opening up facilities and so forth, like you just said, injuries, especially with Achilles issues, it's going to ramp up. And like, I don't think people understand this. It's like, of course, and I get it as an athlete. I've been there. They want to get back to it. They want to jump in.
Yeah, but they have to be aware that they just deloaded all the tendons in their body for 2 or 3 months.
Right.
It's like a big holiday, and they want to jump straight into the competition, and that's not the way you do it. So either you start slow after, or you work hard right now. So these are two options, in my opinion, for professional athletes. They have to figure out the way, or their coaches, how to work hard right now to avoid all the sad stuff that's going to happen.
What would you do, in your honest opinion, when teams go back onto the field and it becomes important in terms of, let's say, sprint training or running? Would you limit practice times also as well?
First of all, I wouldn't trust my athletes. That's the first thing, because I know some of them will tell me that they worked hard and they were doing the running sessions and things like that, and I'm sure they didn't. So it depends what's going to happen with the league and with all the matches and all the competition. If it's going to be full on, which I don't think it's going to be, then, well, it's hard. It's like I don't know what would I do. I would have to talk to the head coach, because I'm not the one who's deciding at some points. For sure, I will limit the volume of the training sessions. I'll try to start slowly again with some stiffness exercises for the tendons. Like, I'll treat my athletes like we treat them at the beginning of the season, like when they're coming from the off season. I mean, not off season, from the transition period, and we're starting slowly in the off season. I would have to do some volume work, maybe lower intensity, maybe some like aerobic capacity back on, and depends on the sport as well.
Right.
And depends on what the athlete was doing before. Right.
Like, and you kind of said it all goes hand in hand. And like you said, I mean, especially for us, where it's, for the most part, we're having right now on each side of the ball, at least for me on offense, we're having about 3 meetings, virtual meetings. And like you're kind of tying back before, and being a strength coach, and then especially the weight room, that's more team building. So my focus right now is just keeping that team building.
Yeah.
Having some sort of control of them for, let's say, it could be anywhere from 3 to maybe 5 hours a week where I have them team building, right? Yeah. But the in-gym aspects that maybe some of them are doing, or training or running, we have no control right now, because like you said, you can't trust them. Yeah. So at least the team building part, we have a hold of, at least for that aspect.
I mean, there is a saying, like in the former Soviet Union countries, like, trust them but control them. So to some point, you have to trust your athletes. I mean, it's your job as well to create the relationship,
right? The binding
of mutual trust. Because if you don't trust your athletes, like, it's gonna be pain in the ass to work with them.
Right.
You have to explain them why you don't want them to lie. It's not like they're constantly on an exam, but sometimes when what they say matters for us when it comes to programming and training session. And I would rather have an honest athlete than the liar, because I can control the training program a little bit better. But they know that at some point They know that if they're gonna lie that they had the hard session before,
Mhm.
they're gonna have an easy session right now. So you have to listen to them, but to some point you have to do your thing, what you planned before.
Talking about the whole trust, right, and having athletes
Yeah.
trust you, because that's the number one thing in any sport. Doesn't matter if you're the strength coach, if you're the position coach, if you're the
Yeah.
coordinator, if you're the head coach, if you're the physical therapist, if you're the doctor, you need that trust, right? How important is it for you? And now we're going to tie in into your experience training kids and youth, because I know it is a hot topic for you and you love it. How would you
Yeah.
say that also comes into play when you're also dealing now with young athletes? Because now we know too, that's also going to be an interesting factor also after this whole Corona deal.
So training with young kids and youth athletes is a little bit different because they not aware, they do not have the consciousness of an adult athlete. So some of them are playing their sport 5 days per week, but they don't know why. They just play it. So earning their trust is something a little bit different than earning the trust of an adult athlete. With an adult athlete, you can have a conversation and you can change your training program a lot, like based on how they feel and what they did and stuff like that, because they understand the process of training. And with kids, they do not have that awareness, and they just follow the program that I made for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I do not negotiate with kids.
Yeah. I feel actually for all this junior coaches, there becomes a lot of things with, I call it always the January effect. In January, everyone say, "Oh, after Christmas, New Year, I want to go to gym and I want to practice." And 2 weeks later, nobody gives a shit anymore what they say about how good they want to be. And that's what I heard right now. Also, all the juniors like, no, we will be there. We're happy to practice again, but I feel you can't push these kids anymore to the edge. Like, I mean, I'm 33, like my coaches did with me. You know, we had also 3 times practice a week, and we just did it. Coach said we're doing it. Let's go push ourselves to the limit.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of respect a little bit. Young athletes do not respect coaches as much as we did before, and one of the things is that the coach do not have the tools right now that they had like a couple years ago. I mean, you cannot hit your athlete. You cannot scream at your athlete. You cannot work their ass off, like keep them in the gym until midnight. You cannot do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And parents are one of the faults. I mean, one of the reasons that we cannot do that right now. We wanted as a society to protect our kids so much that we took away tools from teachers. And I do not mean like strength coaches. I mean all the teachers.
Right.
You cannot like force anything into the kid, and it's hard to teach them discipline right now.
Yeah, I think it's a huge tough thing because
Yeah, I have one story from my judo times when I was like 12, I think, or 13. I can't remember right now. And we were, because I was pretty good when I was younger, and me and 2 of my friends at the same age were invited to the junior camp in the Polish mountains with like 15 and 16 years old. So when you're like 12, the guy who has 15 years old is like super old for you, and the age difference is huge back then. And we had some hill runs. I mean, like not hill sprints, but we were running in the mountains. It was like a conditioning run, and the snow was probably up to my waist, and I had to run with all those big guys, and I started to cry. I was like, oh, I can't run no more. And my coach, who was also my because I was attending the sport class, and the judo was a profile of that class. So we were training in the morning before school 2 hours. Then we went to school, and after school we had 2 hours of a judo session as well. So first 2 hours was more like a general preparation, and in the evening we were having a judo session, and that coach was also responsible for our whole class. So he slowed down and he was starting to run with me, like next to me. And it's like, "What's up, Mikey?" It's like, "Oh, it's hard. It's very hard, right?" It's like, "Yeah, yeah." And the snow is so deep. "Yeah, yeah, coach. You can't run no more. Yeah, maybe I can help you." I said, like, "Yes, coach, please." And he started to kick my butt so hard that, that I was instantly in the middle of the group. Like, and he was running next to me, kicking my butt all the time. It's like, "Go run faster." And you can't do that anymore.
No, absolutely.
Right now, it's a prison time.
Oh,
when you do
100%.
that.
I mean, you can't, I mean, it even comes down to parents as well. I remember growing up, I mean, low off basis or kind of part of it, but like my mom hit me. She didn't physically beat the crap out of me, but like I
Yeah.
knew I did something wrong, or it's like, hey, like, let's go, you know? And I knew like, oh shit, I got to get going. It also ties back to me, like back in the high school and college, like our coaches, they didn't hit us, but they came at us. They were, you know, they motherfuck us. They come, they call you every name in the fucking book.
Yeah.
And this is one thing that athletes don't understand. And I mean, there's some words out there. They should have called us pussies and bitches and all that shit. Of course, I don't like doing that with my athletes. But this is the thing, right? We never took it personally. You knew shit, I gotta kind of pick it up because, you know, if it was in a game, for example, it's like, well, fuck, like if you keep playing like this, we're gonna lose. Do you want to lose? You know, we're gonna practice because there has to be a certain level of intensity, and we never took it personally. That's the big thing. You look at it now with these kids, like you're saying, especially what the parents are doing, they take it personally, and it's not personally.
Yeah, it's true. It's just like you caring about the athlete. You want your athlete to be at his best.
Yeah.
And that's why you screaming at him like that. It's not that you don't like him.
No, we always say it all the time. It's like, if I didn't yell at you or say anything, it's probably because I already gave up.
Yeah, you
So
don't
you're
care
lucky
about the
that
athlete.
I'm fucking freaking out right now.
Yeah, if your coach is not talking to you, you're in trouble.
Yeah, there was an interview from I think the Louisville basketball coach. This interview is like legendary already in the internet when he talks about different to high school sports and all that stuff. He was like saying, "Yeah, we are now in a time. Everyone get a trophy for everything. If you finish first or you finish last,
that's fucked up."
And he said, "Yeah, there is in the real life out there off the sports, there is no second place trophy. Is you get a trophy."
That's the good way to raise a pussy.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. At the end of the day, I mean, this now ties it back to life. Like, life is hard.
Yeah.
Life is hard, and the big thing that I always look at it, and I remember to the days that I started playing football, for example, and when I ran track and played baseball and soccer, a little bit of soccer, I always knew when I looked at it, I'm like, this is fucking nothing. Like, I knew the shit that was going on at home, just being raised by my mom, my dad not being around, my mom struggling, working 3 different jobs. I was like, that was the real shit. And I always looked at it, and I'm like, I saw my mom busting her butt to raise me, and I'm like, a simple. And we just talked about running back the other day when we had our Easter barbecue. It's like, in college, we had these hell weeks, 2-3 practices a day. It would be 35, 40-degree weather, which is not legal anymore. And we practiced. And I looked at it and I was like, it's never that we felt it was impossible. It was a bitch. But I always thought, shit, my mom's out here busting her butt. Like, this is the minimum that I can do and I'm fine, you know? I was like, this is easy shit. Yeah, it's hot as fuck, but it's only for what, 2 hours? Boom, you get back inside, whatever, you know?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's very hard to push athletes right now, especially in the young one. Being a youth coach is a hard thing right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you look at it in terms of, because I know up to recently, are you still working with young athletes, or what's your approach with that right now? Because I know we kind of talked about it privately.
I do. Yeah, I do. To be honest, I think it's like 50-50 right now for me. Mm-hmm. I have 50% of adult athletes and 50% of them are young athletes. Mm-hmm. Working with young athletes, it's fun because it can be rewarding because they're at the beginning of their career. But it can be a pain in the ass as well. I mean, you need to find a way to motivate your athletes because they're not paying for the training sessions. They don't know why they're at the training session. So finding something that we'll keep them training. It's very important. And some athletes are fun to work with, and some are not. And if I have an athlete that I cannot find a connection with, I'm just like not training with them anymore. I don't care. It's my life, my energy. I don't want to waste it on someone who's not willing to put the work in.
Right. For example, what do you do personally as a strength coach when you're trying to, because I know you're going to go through an assessment period and all that. What do you kind of look at when you're dealing with a youth athlete to try to connect, or what do you try to, what tools do you try to use to first see if basically they fit your type of personality and standards to train them?
I do not have like any tasks for that. I mean, I try to talk with them and see where they're going, and like what's their interest, and what's their personality type. And I have to adjust a little bit of mine, my cues, my way of coaching them. Some of them need a really calm person, and some of them need a coach who's very energetic and they're screaming a little bit and pushing them a little bit and stuff like that. I think that the most important thing is just to realize that we're not building a 13-year-old world champion, but we're working with 13-year-old athlete who might be a champion in the future. So instead of like trying to beat every record in the gym right now, I try to develop some training awareness, like we talked before when it comes to setup for squatting. I know that they're not gonna train with me for the rest of their career, so I want to teach them to be an independent athlete. Like for some, it comes to the point that you have to teach them how to tie a shoe because their mother did this for them for the whole time. They keep forgetting their gear to the training sessions, and I had a talk with one of my athletes who was low energy in the gym. I mean, he was very calm. It was very hard to motivate him, and it was very hard to see him exploding in the gym, if you know what I mean. Like he was very hesitant when it comes to trainings, and when you're working on power and you teach them how to jump and how to throw the med ball, you need maximal intent in the workout. So he has to be a little bit angry when he's throwing the ball and when he's jumping. And I couldn't like wake him up. So I asked them to buy boxing gloves.
Okay.
Because he was like a 13-year-old kid. And we started to do the boxing sessions, like pad boxing at the beginning of the session as a warm-up.
Okay.
And suddenly it worked out, because he started to talk more, he started to laugh a little bit, he started to be more aggressive. And at one training session, he forgot the gloves. And I asked him, like, where are your gloves? And he suddenly turned red. He turned to his mother and was like, you forgot my gloves. I was like, no. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the gloves. And I was like, no, just be quiet. I'm talking to your kid. It's like, no, I'll go to the shop and I'll buy a new one. I was like, no, that's not the reason why I'm asking him. It's like, listen, where are your gloves? No, my mother didn't put them in the trunk. I was like, no. Is your mother boxing or you're boxing? Like, no, I'm boxing, but she was packing my stuff. And I was like, okay, so these are your gloves. This is your training equipment, and you're the one who's training. So from now on, you're the one responsible for the gloves. It's like, no, but I don't have time. Like, what do you mean you don't have time?
Yeah.
It's like, look, it's like glove, backpack, put it on, done. If you're not sure if you're going to take them, just don't take them out from the backpack. Keep them in the backpack all the time. And I explained to him, because he was very good. He is a very good tennis player. And I explained to him, it's like, there's going to be a time, there's going to be a point in your career that you're going to travel a lot without your mother. And you're going to be responsible for packing your tennis racket, tying your shoe, and bringing everything you need on the court. If you're going to forget your tennis racket for a game, you're going to be disqualified.
That's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
your passport at the airport, you know,
Yeah.
to start the whole journey.
We have that all the time. I mean, especially sending out itineraries and all this stuff for game day stuff, telling guys like the night before, make sure you pack your stuff. This is that. Itinerary I sent out. It's like typed in bold and red. Check your stuff twice.
Yeah.
We're talking about grown ass fucking men too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've had some stuff too. I mean, also dealing with the U19 guy that played for me in the first league out here back in 2014 in Algoy. He was basically old enough to play for us, but basically he was a U19 guy. And I remember there was one game he forgot his cleats, and he told me his mom packs his bag and she forgot. And I looked at him and I was like, huh? I was like,
Yeah.
your mom packs your fucking bag,
Yeah.
and it's her fault, and you're playing first league Germany. I was like shocked.
Oh, man.
I was shocked. You know,
Yeah,
luckily another player had an extra pair of cleats, but even to this day, I was just like, how the fuck does that happen?
Yeah, but now you don't know how to connect with that athlete, because if my mother would pack my stuff and I didn't have cleats on my training session, I wouldn't say my mother didn't pack my stuff. I would say like, I forgot my cleats.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, coach.
yeah.
I would be so embarrassed.
Yeah, I'd be like, my mom packs my stuff. Like,
But you see,
did you
for
pack your
some
cleats?
of them, it's a normal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're dealing with more and more athletes like that. But I have a couple different young athletes which are really fun to work.
Mhm.
For example, they're playing the same sport. They're tennis athletes, and you just had one example of athlete for not packing his old stuff, and two other kids who are at the same age are traveling by buses around the city from training session to training session. They always on time. They're ready to work, and they training the same sport and they're at the same age. So it's a matter of I don't know, raising a kid at home probably.
That's true. I mean, just one last example for move on a little bit. I mean, I had a guy that I first started. He's a young man now, actually. By the time he was 14 years old, and this
Yeah.
is probably the most prepared athlete I've ever had, even come into like adults, where
Yeah.
he had everything packed. His stuff was always perfectly packed. He had his
Mhm.
meals, and this kid had
Yep.
high school. Like he was in school, he would go straight 6 o'clock in the morning to the gym, work out, school, all the stuff in the evening, come to practices, and he would go by because where he lived was in the mountains basically. So he
Yeah.
would ride his bike like 30 minutes, 20,
Yeah.
30 minutes into town, then take the train there to the next city where we were at out here down south of Germany. And then from there, you know, sometimes he had a second bike locked at the train station just to get to the practice facility and back. And he did this shit for years. And of course, he's going to forget stuff here and there. It's normal.
Yeah.
But he always had his shit prepared. I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever had anyone else, older, younger, who was like him. And he had the right mindset, like you kind of talk about, like where you kind of talk about a little bit, where it's like, you know what, this is the type of guy that I can literally, he has all the right attributes to make a monster. Kind of how you fucking,
Yeah.
you know, where
Yeah.
it was like, I never had, there was one time he was late, and I did it to kind of joke with him. I was like, oh, you're late. I see how it is. And he's like, no. Like, this is not, it was just to joke with him, you know, but he felt so bad that he was late like 30 minutes one time. You know, those are the guys you want to have.
Yeah. That's the guy that we were talking about last time. I have a similar athlete.
Oh,
That was pretty simple. We'll see what happens real quick.
yeah. Now we'll see what happened, but yeah, that's all what we have with this young athletes always. But yeah, for all the guys out there, we hope the coach is looking at this. If you're there, the coach notice if you're on time, if you
Mhm.
have your stuff prepared,
Right.
and all that stuff. Even that's for me the most important thing. Bring food to a away game. I have so many kids every year say, "Oh, we're going on a 7 hours away trip," and they're coming in with
Right.
€5. And yeah, we have a little technology problem, but we try to fix to get.
That's
Coach-
fine. He's writing right now. He'll call back in. It just rebooted. But like that's kind of one thing we were talking about with Roby the other day, where I was kind of joking with him. And the aspect was, it was kind of joking, was like, pack your stuff. At the end of the day, you're going to need, it's preparation at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and that is the aspect where, and this comes down from just a young age, and I kind of mentioned it to it, you know, kind of with one of the guys I had back in Algoy, where I kind of remember that aspect. And we have it all the time. We have to remind them, and it's normal. We do it, but at some point, all this is going to do what? Kind of like just Michał said, is like it's going to translate to life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like I say, it starts with the passport, with the water, with everything. With you forgot that how you want to be prepared for big business meeting on one point. You know, it's all that stuff. Yeah.
And going into that topic, I mean, we have a lot of guys out there listening, especially some young athletes, that they say, oh, they want to go play in the States, they want to go play D1, they want to go through that true professional route and journey into the States and CFL, and it's like, you know what's gonna fucking happen if you forget something, especially when you're at college. Like, we would have to pack our own shit too, right? In some schools, you get the opportunity where they pack your shit for you, but for the most part, you got to pack your shit. So if you forget something, like that's maybe your one shot.
Yeah, I always go that high. I always say, you want to come to this point, you have to be perfect already.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you really say, I want to go to the States, so man, we have 4 times practice a week, and you forgot every time your shoes. I mean, how you wanna survive 9,000 miles away from home? You know, I mean, there's so many other things. Like, nobody gives a shit what you do if you're there or not. So that's what I say. You not go to Alabama or Ohio State who really carry everything for you. You have to live like an adult with 16, 17, 9,000 miles away from home. That's what I always say. And I say, I wish everyone you get this chance, but you need to be prepared and you need to be ready for it. And when you look at the guys who made it now to the States over there, there are guys that are always prepared. They always have everything with on practice, on time, on game day, you know. And when you look to the guys who just talking, I'm that good, you know, blah blah blah. Yeah, that's why you're still here with 28.
That's true. And then, I mean, especially for the guys that look at the young athletes, where they talk about, oh, like they want to end up being professional and stuff like that. Well, look at the greats. What do they talk about? Being prepared and all that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I think Michał is back with us.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Yes, you're back.
We just went on and we're talking about preparation in terms of how, you know, also tying into the fact where we get a lot of these guys that want to go play in the States. And if somehow that pops up in the States where you have an issue being prepared, simple thing, right? Even bringing your fucking mouthpiece.
Yeah.
You know, like coaches, I mean, that may be the one shot that coach gives you. After that, he's like, fuck this. The kid doesn't want it. I'm going to give a shot to the next kid. You know?
Yeah, because you have a lot of athletes and you can just like pick and choose.
Right. And that's one topic we're going to have tomorrow, because it's one of my buddies who he is regarded as the ambassador to European football now, where he's sending guys D1 from Europe. But this is the funny thing, and I work with him directly at these camps and trying to find guys and find the right guys too, not just talent, where we go through a sort of like evaluation to make sure these guys are the guys prepared to basically, let's say, put them out there for these D1 teams. Because we're not going to put out a guy where we know off the bat, like, he doesn't prepare well, he's always late, he's lazy, like, even
if that guy is very talented and he might be a cancer for the team, because usually that type of a guy who's not preparing, who's not willing to put the work in, he's gonna demotivate the rest of the team.
Right.
So even though if he's a high level player, sometimes it's better not to have him in the team. And it comes back to the one of the rules that All Blacks incorporated in their team environment, which goes like, not digs allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Not digheads allowed. I'm sorry, I messed it up. I'm not sure if you read Legacy by John Kerr.
Yeah.
It's one of the rules in that book. They were struggling. They had good players, but they didn't have a chemistry in the team, and they decided to rebuild everything, and they were hiring people based on their attitude a lot.
I mean, you look at sports now and age, to be honest, like you just said, right? There's a ton of athletes out there, and it doesn't matter if it's in the States or out here when you're talking about now at a true professional level.
Yeah.
For the most part, right? And this is for the most part talking, you are already being looked at because you are talented enough to play at that level. Yeah. Now coaches want to see what the intangibles. Are you late? Are you on time? Are you going to give that second effort? Are you a leader? You know, do you have integrity? Are you honest? That's what they look at now. And people don't understand that. Like, there's a reason why they're looking at you. There's a reason why they've looked at the tape, they've talked to your coaches because they know you can play. Now they're looking at what? Do you fit their puzzle on their team?
Yeah, sure. So it's a little bit different, of course, for coaches who are working with teams and individual athletes, because some traits that are in high demand in the individual sports might be a problem when it comes to team setting and vice versa. And I think it's really important to understand at what sport are you working in. Yeah, and going back to that athlete. I just told you, like, I had the judo fighter,
Right.
66 kilos, and he was like 16 years old and bench pressing 120 kilos, squatting 150, doing like number of repetitions of pull-ups and rope climbing, legless, and crazy things. Like he was very fit, and that was that kind of an athlete that he was always on time. And when I said, okay, now let's do 1,000 push-ups, he would just go down on the floor and do it without questioning the workout. And that's another problem, because you know that you can push that athlete to the limits, and you have to be aware of that limit, because he will do everything you'll ask him to do, and now it's your responsibility as a coach to slow down a little bit. I know it's like, because that kind of an athlete, it's like a new toy. You have to play around with that,
right?
But it's very easy to destroy it. And he was very, very disciplined as well. Like it's an extreme level of discipline, because his father was a former, or still working in a special forces. So he was opening his suitcase in front of other kids when they were going for a camp, and if anything was out of order, he was throwing all the clothes on the floor and asking him to restock the t-shirts.
Okay.
Like constantly, time after time after time, until everything was perfectly in the suitcase.
Okay.
And that kind of a mentality allowed him to be at the very top right now. We'll see how it goes, because he's a little bit prone to injury, and judo is not the easiest sport. So as a 15-year-old, he had an ACL tear.
Okay.
And was like not non-contact, because one of the guys would just bang him straight on the knee, and he ended up in a weird position, and two bodies colliding at the same time, and the ACL were gone. I believe, because I was working with him before and after a little bit. I believe that they messed up the surgery a little bit, because he was struggling to regain the full extension in the knee. He was struggling to regain the strength in the hamstrings in that leg and stuff like that. Even though we went back to the previous strength levels for bilateral exercises, he had some deficits in that leg, but he had the 2-year layoff from the judo, from the competition. And he went back for the national championship, and he won bronze medal, I think. And in the higher age division, which is like for guys 2 and 3 years older, after not doing judo at all for 2 years.
That's impressive, actually, to come back from something like that and still play top 3.
Yeah, it's very impressive, because judo, even though it's very physical, it's really based on the good timing. Because you need to have that feeling, we call it a feeling of a fight, because you have a split of a second to do a certain move. Otherwise, you're just hitting a wall. If you're fighting another strong guy who's standing on his feet, he'll not give up easily. It's not so easy to throw him over your shoulder or trip him or whatever it is. And you need to have that timing. And when you're not doing judo for a lot of time, the first thing is gone. It's the timing. You're just like always half of a second too late. So yeah, it was a good success for him.
That's great to
hear. But he's a similar mentality type to your guy.
Okay, tying in now, I mean, because I also know that, this is what I know and I've seen you do, like you also work as a tutor, lecturer, and also translator, a lot of translating.
Yeah.
A lot of seminars out there, workshops in Poland, for example, also for the Strength and Conditioning Association.
Yeah, there was a time that I did most of that.
Right. was there a reason why you got into that? Was it to give back and help build? Because I know you're a guy where it's like you said, you want to help out coaches around you, and also like talk about how in the university system they didn't have a real faculty for strength and conditioning. Because this is my opinion, right? And I already told Coach about it, and a lot of people know me coming from my strength and conditioning aspect and background, especially out here in Germany and in Europe. From what I've seen, okay, the strength coaches in Poland are some of the smartest that I've been around, even in Germany. Because in Germany, there's not a lot of strength coaches just as a whole that I've seen and knowledge-wise in Poland, because Poland has a legit strength and conditioning association, where in Germany they don't, you know, and you don't get these real strength coach names coming out here to do workshops, to do clinics, especially the convention where you're at every year, you know, and that's what is big for me. And I'm wondering, first of all, what made you go about helping build that, and what is also your kind of, what's your opinion in terms of that, looking at Europe as a whole?
I'm not sure how I got into translating courses. I mean, I don't remember right now. I think it started with CrossFit courses. Because I was working in the gym. I'm still working at the gym, who was hosting CrossFit courses for Poland. I mean, all CrossFit courses were done in our gym. I mean, in the gym that I'm working in right now. And I was there.
Mordor gym, right?
It's called CrossFit Mosqueda.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine is an owner, and they gave me an opportunity to translate that course, and I became the translator for those courses. I did like I think at least 30 of these in a period of like 4 or 5 years, and because I was doing a lot of CrossFit translations, when they started to invite coaches from other countries to do the workshop and to run a lecture at the conference, I was the man to go. I mean, I'm not a professional translator, but I can speak some English, not the perfect one, but I understand what they're saying, and I know the field and I know the topic. So sometimes, even though I cannot translate something directly, I know what they're talking about, and I can explain to other coaches what they were saying. So it started like that. I'm glad that right now we have at least 3 or 4 other coaches who are able to translate those workshops, because for me it means that I did a good job and of spreading the knowledge. And right now there are other people who are willing to do the same thing, and it means that some of those coaches will have a free course as well, because you have to remember that if you're translating, you don't have to pay for the course, which means that if there's a good course that I translated already like 2 or 3 times, and there's a friend of mine who wants to translate and he was not attending that course, I'll give it away to him.
Right.
So he can get the knowledge from the course and he can gain experience in translating. And that's how it started. And then I was helping a lot Bart with the conference, with all the translations. Back then, I think I did like most of that. We didn't have a lot of foreigners doing the lectures during the first conferences, but right now we have a very good lineup every year.
Right.
And, it's a lot of translation, and it's very tiring. So we have 4 or 5 translators working, alternating with translations.
No, definitely. I mean, and what have you looked at every year in terms of the quality of strength and conditioning coaches in Poland? Because I mean, of course, first of all, just looking at the aspect where strength coaches do not make a lot of money, and people don't understand this, like strength coaches don't make a lot of money in Poland, but just seeing the quality of knowledge that they possess is very impressive in Poland.
Problem with strength and conditioning is that in each country you have very limited amount of well-paid positions, usually like 2 or 3 that you want to work in. In Poland, Yeah, we have like maybe 3, 5 well-paid positions for strength and conditioning coaches, and a lot of new coming strength and conditioning coaches. So that's the big problem. However, a lot of guys here are doing a very good job of not working in a team setting, but working individually
Mhm.
with athletes. We have to remember that we have runners, we have tennis players, we have golfers, we have athletes from other disciplines who are not able to train with a strength and conditioning coach in their club, so they're looking for a specialist outside a little bit, and that's a big part of the market. I think not only in Poland, but other countries in Europe as well, because we have to remember that we have limited amount of teams in the country, and usually there are like 2 or 3 sports that are on the top level in that country, and only like 2 or 3 probably clubs in each sport. So I don't know, you have like 10, I don't know, 10 good positions, for example. How many good positions for a strength coach you have in Germany? I mean, you have a little bit bigger amount because you have a very good soccer league,
Mhm.
but probably in that soccer league, you still have like 5 teams that you want to work in.
100%. I mean, it also depends on the type of position. I know, like, for example, buddies of mine that have worked and still work at Bayern Munich, for example,
Yeah,
like you do basically have strength coaches for every team, but then like every specific team that they have, even
yeah,
down to youth, but then it depends, are you full time? Are you part time? Are you just 10
yeah,
hours a week? Because there's a thing they call like mini job where it's
yeah,
like 40 hours a month for the
yeah,
most. That's what it is, and you're supposed to get paid. You can't get more than 450 euros, otherwise it brings in taxes and stuff like that. So it's
yeah.
tax
I got it.
free. And I have like some buddies of mine too that did that before and still do it, where they're for the youth, but because it's a thing, right? Teams like that who have the money to have you at least part time, right?
Yeah,
Because you at least need a really good strength coach who spends a lot of time. They're only giving them like maybe a session, maybe 2 a week with young
yeah,
athletes, which is funny when you look at a team like Bayern Munich and they have money to
yeah,
afford to bring on maybe full time or part time guys for the youth kids, but they don't do that.
yeah, yeah. I don't know why they do it, but maybe they just want to buy already made player instead of raising one.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
you're not getting rich when you spend all the money. On
Yeah,
one point, it's a business for them as well. So, and I know they can use the name. They know, hey, if you work for us, however our contract is, you get somewhere else job. So it's a thing of the big clubs there that are probably doing it. Yeah.
yeah. I really enjoy working in a team setting, but I'm not sure I'm coming back to the team setting anytime soon. It's a big sacrifice. You have to travel a lot, and they can suck you like in a minute. Like it. The biggest problem with working for a top team is that everything changes there quickly. Like you can do a very good job, but they're gonna fire your head coach after 3 months because he lost 2 games, and you're gone because the new head coach has his own strength and conditioning coach, and that's an environment I don't want to be working in because it's very very unstable. And it's good when you're young or you're traveling when you're with your head coach. You want to travel, I don't know, you're single and stuff like that. And yeah, and that instability is something that I'm not looking for in when it comes to working.
That is the big thing that not a lot of coaches, and it comes down to strength coaching and also like other coaches in our field as well. It's we always say it's like you got to prepare to put your house on wheels literally, because you don't
Yeah,
know if, like you just said, especially in the soccer world,
yeah, sure.
okay, where it's like you never know, but let's say maybe it's in 2 3 games or in a month where it's like, hey, bye, everybody's gone. And like you said, people don't understand, like there is no, at the end of the day, there is no loyalty to you.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, you are an employee,
sure.
okay? And they easily can look at what they're getting resumes all the time from people trying to apply to get in.
Yes.
So just like that, you can be replaced.
Yeah, and that's what happened to me when I was working in the basketball. We won the promotion to the top league, and they didn't want to keep their old guys, those guys who sacrificed a lot of energy and a lot of time to build the winning team. We knew the team because most of us were working with that team and with the club for at least like 3-4 years. So we knew the procedures, we knew the stuff, and then things like that. We just were expecting a little raise because we were playing in the higher division. So the club was earning more money, and we were working with more expensive athletes and then stuff like that. I just said to them that right now we're playing at the very professional level when it comes to basketball in Poland, and I want you to treat me as a professional. I have to work with athletes on a daily basis. I have to be available for athletes on a daily basis, not only for team training sessions, but also when somebody needs one-on-one or additional training session. If somebody is injured, I have to be there, work with them after regular training session and things like that. And they said they cannot provide me with that. They can give me the same amount of money, and they're expecting that I'll be at the club like 2 or 3 days per week only. And I say, okay, so when we have, I'm gonna be on Thursday morning session. Then you have Thursday evening, Friday morning, Friday evening, Saturday morning, Sunday game, Monday morning, Monday evening, and I will be coming on Tuesday morning again. So I just missed 8 training sessions. A lot of things can happen in eight training sessions. So I said, okay, I can be there like 2 or 3 times per day, but then I need a month holiday in January because I want to go for holidays. So, oh, no, you're going to miss too many training sessions. So like, I'm going to miss 8, the same amount that I'm going to miss between Tuesday and Thursday and Tuesday. And so, no, we can agree to that. It's like, okay, so see ya.
Later.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is the sports world is tough out there to make it professional.
Yeah, look what happened now. Some of athletes were promised the money until the end of the season, and suddenly the season ended in January, and they were cut off.
Yeah, a
so
lot of people do that.
Now they're gonna agree, sign some agreement with the club, or they're gonna sue the club. I don't know the details, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna end up either way.
It's a crazy situation right now. Yeah, absolutely.
How much does an average strength coach make in Poland? Like when you're working like in a club setting? Because I know a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, it's a big difference between every single club. The best paid position, I think, was when it comes to basketball, I think was around 15,000 zlotys
a month.
A month, which would be like $3,000-$4,000, something like that. I know coaches who are working for 200-300 euros, or some of them are even working for free.
That's crazy, because I remember we talked a few times. What was it, the other deal? I think you also said like the other hard part is, and it's kind of the deal where we kind of, when we talk about sports out here, especially in Europe, where you're saying like they would also ask you to like do the warm up at games, but then you don't have to be at games, but it's like you're doing it for free. It was something like that we talked about like back in the day.
Oh shit, I don't remember, but yeah, sometimes they require
game days. Did you have to be game days? Sorry.
Once again,
did you have to be there on game days, or how was that set up?
Yeah, I talked with them and I said that okay, I'm having courses often back then. I was translating or I was assisting the course and stuff like that, and it was my like second or actually the third job, which happened on the weekend, and we came to an agreement that I'll be present at the home games, but I don't have to travel for away games, which didn't mean that my coach was not mad about that. Every time he had a chance, he mentioned that I'm not a part of the team because I'm not traveling with the team. Of course, it was a joke a little bit, but he poked me like from time to
That
time.
pissed you off, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's, I believe.
I didn't give a fuck about that. I literally told him that on Saturday, Sunday, I'm earning more money than you're paying me for a whole month,
I mean,
and that was the end of the discussion.
Yeah. It's like, what do you expect me to do? Like at the end of the day, it's like, well, this is how I pay my bills. Otherwise, unless you guys give me more money, then I could be here. Otherwise, I mean, it's such an easy decision for me, you know.
Yeah, that's what I told him, and he fully understood that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is, I mean, have you heard anything this year from the strength and conditioning convention? Is it going to happen, or you guys don't know yet?
I have no idea. Bart is the one to ask, so I have nothing to do with the organization. I'm just helping them with the translation right now. So
And then the late night events.
oh yeah, I'm responsible for that. That's a different story.
That's a different story, exactly.
Yeah,
Huh?
they put me on the landmine, as I call it.
They put you on a landmine?
Yeah, with the morning translation on Sunday.
You want to talk about that or no?
Yeah, I'm fine. So
what happened? Well, this was not this last year. This was 2018.
yeah, because you were not present at the last one.
No, I couldn't make it.
Yeah, no, you were scared.
I was in France coaching. We had preseason games with the kids and stuff.
Yeah, we all know the story. Like you were too scared to come to Poland again
Exactly,
to
I was
drink.
scared.
Yeah, so for everyone else, the story is that I was working in 2018 as a translator for the conference, and I set up my schedule the way that I was working only on Saturday, so I can spend Saturday social with fellow coaches and be more relaxed on Sunday, rest a little bit before the travel and stuff like that. So I ended up drinking Polish vodka on the bench in the hotel with co-host Mele, and
It was like until like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, 3 or 4, something like that.
Actually, this is the thing, right? Bart. So for people who don't know, Bart is the president of the Strength and Conditioning Association in Poland.
Yeah.
He invited me to come out. And we had a dinner even like on a Friday when I arrived. It was like you. It was
Ron McCaffrey. Yeah.
Ron McCaffrey was there. Dan Baker. Brett was there from Team China. What's his name again? Also,
Greg there.
Greg was also there.
I think.
And I forgot who else. I think that was it, right? Yeah.
I don't remember.
Anyhow, it was at some point because there was like the evening little cocktail deal, whatever you want to call it. And at some point, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to sleep because Dan Baker was already in his Dan Baker
beer mode.
And I don't think he remembers our whole conversation too. At some point.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I told Bart, I'm like, hey, appreciate everything. I'm gonna go up to my room right now. Well, sorry, I had an apartment in town. And he goes, no, you're not leaving. And he's like, no, we're drinking. And I was like, what? He's like, no. And then it basically escalated. And it was like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. We're sitting in the lobby of the hotel.
Yeah, it was on Saturday.
Yeah.
It was on Saturday. They
closed down the dinner was on Friday. I remember that.
Yeah, dinner was on Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were sitting in the restaurant at the venue.
Yeah.
And they kicked us out. I think after 1 a.m. From the restaurant because they were closing down, and suddenly the lady came with a fresh bottle of vodka and told us that somebody left that. So we were responsible for the bottle, and we ended up drinking that until like 3 or 4.
Oh.
I woke up. I don't know. I woke up in my clothes in my room at 8. I think 8:50 or something like that. Like suddenly, I don't know why. I didn't have a alarm set on my phone. I just woke up like that, and I decided, okay, so my plan is, I'll go downstairs to the conference venue. Because it's in the same building.
Right.
I'll see what's going on. I'll eat the breakfast and I'll go back to sleep. I just brush my teeth and went down to the conference room. And the first lecture was Rhett Larson and Greg Dale, two English-speaking presenters. And suddenly Bart is approaching me with a microphone, and he's putting me the headset, like the head microphone on, and he's like, "Mike, we have a problem. Our translator cannot come." And I was like, yeah, good joke. No. You have to translate. and I was like opening my mouth to say that I'm not gonna do it, and suddenly Red Larson's like, "Hey, hello everyone, welcome to the second of the conference." I didn't know what was going on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I think it started like at
it was
9, and I remember I got to like at 9:30.
Yeah, and you
I remember
saw me and
walking
you started.
in, and I see you standing there, like, because it was at the venue. There's like they did it basically at the basketball
Yeah.
practice facility area.
Yeah,
And I walk in, and I see you standing there holding a bottle of water, and I'm like, "Oh, this isn't good."
yeah, it was not good. I had a hard time focusing. So imagine a simple sentence, and by the end of the sentence, I didn't remember the beginning.
Oh,
Yeah, I was still drunk, so.
wow.
But you did an amazing job. What was funny was
How can you tell? You're not
Huh?
speaking Polish, so how do you know?
it's okay. No, I mean, everybody understood probably. I don't know.
Nobody was leaving the room.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, so it was fine. But what was it? I think right after that, what was it? I think it was Greg. Greg was the one. Greg and Dan. Oh no, Dan wasn't even there because Dan was still asleep in his room.
Yeah.
He missed like the first presentation, at least first or two. He slept in, right? And then
Yes.
I remember right after that we went, like Greg and Rhett wanted to go to the bar, and then Greg started ordering more beer and whiskey. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh Jesus.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Yeah.
that's how you deal with the hangover. You
Yeah,
just
just
drink
the
more
hangover.
beers.
No, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah, if you want to work in a team setting in Poland, drinking is with head coach is a part of the thing. So
the head coaches, yeah.
yeah, for all the young coaches, that's the advice. Start building your workload early.
I mean, that's also the other deal where it's like you kind of talk to young coaches, and it's like at the end of the day, if you kind of want to try to work your way and get good relationships, and even I mean, we even have this in the American football coaches clinics. Like there's some top coaches where when they go to the clinics, they're like we're here to not, let's say, not like get blackout or super drunk, but like they're here to relax, have fun, because they said like during the season and even like back at home with the wives, they're like, we don't get to do this, so they're like Mele, you're having this beer with me right now, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. I think it's an important part of building a relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you have to, or you have to drink until you passed out, but it's just all about having good time and talking like freely.
No,
with
you
each other.
You see that all over, even like when it comes down to business meetings. I mean, you look at it, and there's a reason why, when there's like business meetings and men go out to have dinner and have a couple of drinks before they maybe close the deal. Like it's all about seeing like, can we work together? Do we click? It's the same deal.
Yeah, but you have to know the limits.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be the one who's running around other coaches puking on their shoes. So
that's of course the limit. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the limit. Just before there.
Yeah. So I believe that you can have fun to the moment that you're still able to show up and perform the next day, no matter what. Like you can be hangover, you can be still drunk, and if it doesn't like decline your performance,
right.
I'm not sure if that's the right word. If it doesn't like make your performance worse,
right,
it's still okay.
I mean, it's kind of like when I tell some of my players, or we had that in college too. Our coaches say, to be honest, like we don't care if you go out, but you guys better be there at 6 o'clock in the morning, ready to go. Because they said, if you guys could go out and have fun, then you guys could wake up and get the job done.
Yes, and perform on the same level as you usually do.
It's like, shit, I don't care. Show up to workouts, whatever you want, but as long as you're not missing trainings and you're fine, they're like, I don't care.
Yeah, which is impossible to combine, like going out and performing on a high level. So that's the thing they have to understand.
Especially when you're older,
Yeah.
And then you drink 2 beers and you're like, well, this is way too much. You're like, I'm having a rough week now. What is your thought process now? Because I mean, you're 31. I thought you were like 45. But you're 31 now. Because like you said, you don't think you're going to go back into the team sports aspect of it. You're still going to want to keep doing on a personal basis. And are you also thinking about maybe, because this is what I think. I think you would be perfect to also at some point go teach at the university level, in some sort of strength and conditioning, like major, for example, in faculty.
Yeah, maybe. But they're not paying money at all. So
Zero?
yeah, university I think it's paying less money than the club. So
What the hell?
Is that bad?
yeah, yeah, I think so. But you can do that at when you have everything else set up. You have a good income, and you can sacrifice some of your time to work with other guys, like with university or with the team or whatever it is, who are not paying you the money. But at the end of the day, you have to pay your bills. So there is a priority right now. And priority, I think a lot of coaches are shy to tell about that, or not willing to tell about that. They're talking about the struggle and so on, that they're not doing the job for money.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the time, it's all of the day, it's all about the money. And I'm not meaning like the cash and the papers, because money is time. You're basically trading your time, and you want to increase your value as much as you can. So for 1 hour of my time, I can buy 5 hours of someone else's time.
Mm-hmm.
If I need to do the renovation of my flat, I can do it by myself, but I can work with athletes for 1 hour, and that will pay the full day of work and at my home. So right now I try to focus on increasing my value. I'm still working with as many athletes as I can from different disciplines. It's hard right now to focus only on one discipline. I'm not sure if it's only in Poland or in other countries as well. And I don't want to be so specialized in one of that, because it's always fun. It's always challenging that you're an athlete from different sport is coming, and you have to adjust your thinking, your programming, your exercises, and stuff like that, instead of like copying and pasting the same kind of a template for every athlete, because you have the, I don't know, 53 soccer players who are playing on the same position.
Mm-hmm.
So the program doesn't have to be that much different for them. Of course, there will be some tweaks.
And at the end of the day, it's like you said, it's about self-growth, right? And if you're able now, I mean, I remember for me, the first time, I was dealing with American football players, and then I started getting soccer. Then I got some ice hockey.
Yeah.
You know, and then I got some formula race car driving. I mean, that's now, and I look at it too as a strength coach, where, and it's the thing, I knew off the bat, I'm like, I'm not ready to train this person just per se. Like I have an idea what I can do. So what would I do? I would reach out of my bubble to people that I knew and say, hey, I got this athlete. I know that per se, one of my buddies, he was already working with race car drivers. And I say, hey, what do you think? Or you work with ice hockey. What do you think? What do you do? Because that's where I would reach out and say, I knew off the bat, I'm like, I don't know, so I need to ask somebody to kind of see what is their perspective on this given athlete.
Yeah, you do the research first.
Yeah. That's always I did. Look at it, and like you said, I loved it because it helps you grow. And like you said, ultimately, it's going to bring more value to you because now you have a plethora of athletes you've already worked with.
Yes, true. Yeah. True. I have a wide range of athletes, from old Olympic level athletes to young kids. From I had a race car driver as well, not the Formula One driver, but he was like on the Paris Dakar rally type of a driver. I have some golf athletes, tennis players, basketball players, track and field athletes. I have a soccer referee who I'm working with, and yeah, there are many different type of athletes and different personalities, different demands, and it's challenging my thought process and my programming right now. But yeah, I think I'll try to work with as many golf athletes as I can. However, Poland is not very good country to train golf, because we do not have a good season for that. So the time that you can train golf is limited, and we still are not producing high level athletes because of that. But yeah, I enjoy working with golf athletes, and it's a fun thing.
And as I said, like at the end of the day, like I look at it, and I always looked at it as being it's fun, you know, because it's like you get excited for it, because at some point, if you're always working the same sport, it gets monotonous.
Yes, sure.
You know,
season after season, it looks almost the same.
And we as humans, we are what we tend to be like that. Like we're, at least for the most part, a lot of people, you want to have that new stimulus, you know, kind of like that new adaptation, especially.
I think it depends also on the personality,
Right.
because some people really are really seeking for that adaptations, for that new stimulus, and some of people wants to have constant stability levels, and they're not willing to change everything every year and stuff like that. They want everything the same, and I'm not that person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely also not the same, because even like right now, it's just been coaching ball. That's where I had to stop basically training athletes, because at some point it's like you're coaching football full time, you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
I like, especially in the off season, that's where I look at it, where I miss it, where at least just training and give an athlete that it distracts me. It's like a refresher, you know. It gets my mind, because if you like, let's say football season is 8 months long, you're doing football every single day. You need kind of like that getaway at some point.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're gonna get a burnout. You're gonna go fucking crazy. You know?
Yeah, and it's very easy to create the scheme and then just follow the scheme, because our brain tends to create the scheme, so it doesn't have to work that hard.
Right.
So he doesn't have to analyze everything from the very beginning. So he's looking for some similarities, and if you're not aware of that, you're gonna end up like not progressing with your coaching, programming, and things like that. They even describe that the phenomenon when it comes to songwriting. They have an algorithm which is analyzing the song, and is predicting if that song is going to be popular or not based on the other songs. So one of the songs is Black Eyed Peas' "Hey Ya." Do you know that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it became a hit, but they put it into the program, and the program said that it's gonna be a hit. They played it on the radio, but it didn't just like work out. At the beginning, the song was not a hit. People didn't like the song, and they started to think why that song was not a hit, because it was so different than every other song that was on the market. And it was challenging on the brain for people to listen to that song. So what they did is they did the sandwich. They used two very popular songs on that time, and they always played it on the radio before and after "Hey Ya."
Okay.
So your brain realized that "Hey Ya" between those two songs is something nice, because you already liked those two songs, and suddenly it went up.
Interesting.
Because it was out of the scheme that you were used to.
Right.
When it comes to songs. And yeah, so when you're working in the same sport, you have to evolve constantly. You cannot like sit
Especially like
in
you
the same
said, at the
place.
end of the day, where at the end it is a business where you have to, at some point, like any type of job, you have to find a way to pay your bills, right? So you have to constantly be growing, because if you want to somehow stay relevant in a business that is constantly changing, literally month to month. You know, when you look out there, especially what people are putting out there, like every month there's articles coming out. People are putting out research papers. I think you're doing that too, right?
What am I doing? Like writing research papers?
Right?
Writing? No, not that much. I wrote like one or two.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I wrote one for ASCA when I was doing completing my ASCA level 2 strength coach, and writing an article or a research paper was one of the requests. I don't know, requirements to complete the level 2. So that's the one I wrote. But I'm not a fan of writing research papers. I read them, but it's not my thing.
Okay.
I'd rather put my hands on some athletes and work with them like physically one-on-one.
Right, I got you.
Yeah, but research is important. But some people are better at writing research, and some people are not. And I'm not the guy who's good at writing research. I was never interested in doing that. But yeah.
Right. One last thing before we go, and we'll let you go, because you probably have a lot of things to do on this Easter Monday. Maybe eat some more.
Yes.
If you were to give, if you were to give advise to a young strength coach, up and coming strength coach? And so
Yeah.
it could be anything in terms of what certifications, workshops to do out there. Since kind of like we're talking about already, there's a lack in the field when you're coming up through the university system to basically like adequately prepare you to work at that level. What would you kind of advise an up and coming strength coach if maybe they're still in school or they're starting off in their first or second year?
Yeah, I think first of all, start to work as early as you can, because nothing beats the experience. And a lot of people are going for courses. So they're doing online courses. They're reading the papers, but it's not experience. It's like exposure to the training, and being there and seeing how somebody else is doing that. It's not the same thing as doing it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as you can, start to work with someone. If you're not capable of working with a huge group of athletes, start with your friend. Like coach him one-on-one, then slightly increase the group to maybe 2 people, and you'll realize how challenging it is to coach people correctly. And it's always good to have a fellow coach who's more experienced in the field, who will from time to time sit next to you and will just watch you coaching, and then give you some cues about how you coach, because we're very skilled about what we're coaching, but not a lot of us are thinking how we coach, and that's the big gap in our field. And I try to fill that gap right now, and I'm reading a lot of stuff about how we coaching, and about cueing and things like that. And I'm developing myself in this area. Maybe soon I'll try to publish some articles. Maybe I'll record some webinar and stuff like that. It's about that part of coaching, not what we coach, but how we coach. So it's always good to have a more experienced coach assessing you from the side. It will help you develop, and it will make you a better coach. And so coach as soon as you can. That's one thing. Try to set up a routine of reading something daily. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It might be an article. It doesn't have to be a research paper. It might be some blog article. Maybe you can watch some videos. Maybe you listen to an audiobook, but build that routine of constantly developing and constantly learning. And I think there's not a workshop which can beat an experience of coaching. And I don't know, maybe see where your holes are. Maybe you're good at strength training and you're very weak at conditioning training. Maybe you should check the course on conditioning. Maybe you should read a book on conditioning. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you need to develop some knowledge when it comes to physical therapy, some mobility drills. So I don't know. It's for every other coach, it's going to be a little bit different. It's like try to fill those gaps.
Because at the end of the day, the goal is, that we already talked about a little bit, is to become as well-rounded as you can be.
Yeah.
Because now you're able to it doesn't matter what type of athlete you come forth with, you're adaptable to them. Because at the end of the day, that is not.
And if you know the principles of training, you can easily adapt your training session to different type of athlete. And travel a lot, meet other coaches, talk with them, and build your community, because it's a good thing to do. Yeah. Because right now we have an easy job. We have everything in our phone or on our computer. Everything is online right now. All the courses, especially after Corona right now, are going to be online. You can do it, but then you have to be able to work with your athletes, talk with your athletes like in person. So we have to be aware that we're not losing that ability to talk face to face to people. And
right.
That's
the biggest thing I've noticed, kind of going off of what you said, where it's like, and that's been my focus. It's like, do you know how to coach? Like you said, you like, for the most part, everybody in this field, and even when it comes to like sports in general, if you're just like a coach, like you have a well base of knowledge. Now it comes down to how do you talk? You know, can you give them the cues? Can you keep it short and sweet? Can you
Yep.
dumb it down? You know,
Yep.
that's the biggest thing where I look at, where especially coming up, where I really feel really lucky is having my hands-on experience.
Yeah.
Because like you said, like in the beginning, you're not going to be the best, but that's where you learn what is your style first of all. How do you apply it, right? Because everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to go to this workshop. We lost him again. I'm going to go to this workshop. And then, for example, they don't know how to adapt the given knowledge that they learn. They think always, oh, it has to be like this. And then there's no way to kind of adapt. And that's the biggest thing you look at coaches now in this day and age, where they say, oh, I'm going to go to an Exos certification, or I'm going to go to a certified functional strength and conditioning certification, or I'm going to do a CrossFit certification, or I'm going to do, let's say, DeFranco's certification back in Jersey, for example. Like, that's the biggest thing where people don't understand. It's like, you have to find your own style for you as a coach, because that's the biggest thing. Can you now relate to that given athlete and then communicate? That's the biggest thing in our coaching world, not only strength coaches, but also, like we're talking about too, American football, let's say. Can you communicate with these athletes? Because if you can't, then what? You're not going to have that buy-in, that trust, and you can't win games, you know?
Absolutely. And you also need to see which guys you train, which guys you train. Sometimes you can make a little joke about, sometimes you just be really serious because there's a big game waiting or something like that. So it's really
can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you
Yes.
back. I was just
my computer died, so I'm on the phone right now.
Don't worry about it. I was just wrapping up in terms of kind of for myself saying that at the end of the day, it also comes down to you finding your style, being able to communicate with the athlete. Because, to be honest, for me, growing up as an athlete, I didn't really care, for the most part, of course, as I say, but I didn't really care like they were the smartest fucking person in the room. I cared, can I trust this person?
Yeah.
You know, that was my biggest thing. 'Cause at the end of the day, you look at it, right? A lot of these professional athletes, they have a specific strength coach for a while, because why? Yes, they're knowledgeable, but they click together because that strength coach can communicate with them. They have that fit. And that's what, like, you kind of talk about right now. It's like, it's that face-to-face communication, you know, that face-to-face relation that you have with your coach. And I would say, like, yeah, let's say you go do a certification, like I was kind of saying, let's say you go and you do an Exos, whatever deal, that's what you're going to do, but then you try to apply it. And what I was kind of touching, since you got cut off, was the hardest thing for a lot of coaches is to be adaptable. They always think, well, I did this certification, and what I learned, it has to work. And my thing is what if you can't? Let's say the structure and the template you learned.
That's exactly what happened to me after I finished 2 modules of Access. And those modules of Access were really based back then on Kaiser stuff, because they were working a lot of on Kaiser, and they really had a very professional, still have professional facility. And I brought all that knowledge to the club, that I had 1 dumbbell and 1 trap bar. And now I was like, okay, I just spent like $4,000 on the course, and I have to figure out how to use what I learned in that environment that I have right now. And that's not the thing that you're gonna learn on the course. You have to be there, you have to work, you have to gain the experience. You can challenge some coaches, like, okay, well, let's say, what exercise are you gonna use for your athlete to increase their lower body strength? It's like, okay, it's simple. I'm gonna do a back squat. Okay, but your athlete cannot do the back squat because his back hurt. Okay, I'll do the front squat. Okay, your athlete cannot do the front squat because he has a bad wrist. Okay, I'll do the trap bar. Oh, you don't have a trap bar. All right, I'll go with a dumbbell. Okay, can you go as heavy with a dumbbell as you can go with a bar? No, you can. Okay, now imagine that you do not have a dumbbell, or you have 2 dumbbells and 15 athletes. And these are things that you have to figure out sometimes on the go when you're working with the team, and you're not going to learn how to do that by watching an online course. You have to be there, and you have to work with the teams or with an athlete.
100%. That's the biggest thing, and it goes down, just we talked about it. It's like, it's experience. It's experience at the end of the day. You know, it's just it's trial and error, and you find out what is your best method. How do you work? Because, like you said, it's very different working in a team setting and then working individually. Very
Yeah.
different. Because some
Yeah,
coaches, they don't
logic.
know how to grab the team or that group. They can't do it.
Yes.
They don't know how to
Yeah,
speak.
yes, you have to understand the dynamics of the team, figure out who's the leader, who's going to be a little bit behind, and how to connect to all those people at the same time, how to maybe use your athletes
Mhm.
to control the rest of the group, how to combine those athletes together when they're working out. So you're building a better team, not the worst team, and stuff like that. These are important things, and I'm not sure you can learn them through reading articles.
No, definitely. Well, I mean, we could definitely, this is the thing, right? And I was trying to keep it as general as possible. But I know we're already getting a lot of strength coaches out in Poland already following our page, and they want to hear Michał about your podcast and everything, what you had to say. So we could definitely do this some other time. Keep getting more in depth, maybe get some other guys on. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's a topic for a different talk, I think.
Definitely. That was my deal where I was kind of the focus was let's try to keep it more general. But for now, I mean, this is perfect, to be honest. Like, I don't mind it. And I know Coach Sebastian learned some things he can apply also for us here in Ravensburg.
Yeah.
We appreciate having you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for
time.
having me.
Especially at the end of the day, it's also to get out, like we're kind of talking about, our biggest focus doesn't matter if it's football, if it's strength and conditioning, if it doesn't matter if you're in Germany, Poland, in the States, in Japan. What we're reaching out to is for us to kind of help other coaches. It doesn't matter what field you're in. It could be strength and conditioning, football, soccer, whatever it is, but bring this community bigger, right? For us to understand from
Sure.
each other, because just like we talked about, strength coaches and coaches from other fields, like at the end of the day, like we just talked about the topic, communication. That's big for everybody. You know?
Yeah.
So we all relate to this.
That's true. It's important to know what you're coaching, but then start to think about how you do it.
Right.
And I highly suggest to everyone like to either have a fellow coach who on the side who's going to be watching and assessing your coaching, or do the worst thing that you can, record yourself and then watch yourself coaching. And I can tell you from my own experience, it's a nightmare to see yourself talking, coaching, walking, and stuff like that. And you will pick up mistakes that you do that you didn't even realize. So in terms of being a better coach, that's something that I highly recommend to do.
It's definitely that's one of the biggest things. You know, that let's say what Kevin Carr does himself when he coaches how to coach. And that's very interesting because it relates back to, like, at least for us in the States in our university system, like we have to do either communications or speech class. And what did the teacher do? She taped you and she had you watch it. And then for the next presentation. And that's one of the hardest things too, like you said, even watching yourself stand up in front of people and just speak, you know, but that only prepares you now for the next time you're in that environment.
That you're going to be aware of some things that you're doing. That you, for example, you're not putting your hands in your pockets, or you're not just grabbing your balls all the time and things like that.
You're clicking a pen. People do that too. I used to do it back in the day. But anyhow, appreciate having you. We wish you a wonderful Easter Monday, and then we'll talk, okay?
Yeah, I'm not going to have a barbecue. By the way, are you eating barbecue on Easter?
We did that on Saturday.
Oh, I love that country. I have to.
What are you having?
Eggs and salad.
Yeah, we put the eggs in the salad for the meat.
Yeah. You put the eggs in the barbecue.
Yeah. All right. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a good day. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.